Okay, based on the thing, the meeting will be called to order at 10:30. And if you could please do a roll call for us.
Hines,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
Topper, here, Walker,
Here.
Okay, great. Approval of the minutes. Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay, approved as sent. I have no report. Let's get right to a capital project update.
Right.
We have one?
So we don't have the spreadsheet quite yet, and so we're gonna be working with finance as they're suffering through their transition to be able to, like after this, with the wrap of this first quarter, to start the reporting in April. But essentially, the work that really has been continuing of all the capital projects is on the pickleball project. And we are teed up to go to the Walnut Creek Planning Commission on February 27th. And we've really, we deferred it another 2 weeks just to make sure, working with our liaison there and planning, that we had every document, every T is crossed, every I is dotted, and things are looking really good for that. So we had a good planning meeting with our liaison from the city, so we know what to expect and what to present. So that's pretty much where we are with pickleball.
Okay. And we'll be hopefully getting final or up-to-date numbers.
Certainly by April. I mean, it should start at the next finance committee meeting.
Yeah. I know the priority is getting the MOT
Yeah.
sorted out. Okay, marketing task force update. Dwight, do you want to do that remotely or do we?
I can. Good morning, everybody. So I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
Okay, excellent. So this past Tuesday, we had a marketing task force meeting. It was awesome. I have to tell you, we just have great contributors on that task force, which is great. So just some highlights of the ambassador program working group reported that there are a lot of complexities in setting up such a program, and it's being studied more in depth by Kevin Dowling, the task force member, and then Maxine from the board. They're going to have a gathering at Maxine's house on March 27th to gauge some resident interest, but there are lots of complexities that we're concerned about, and that's largely, staff availability and sustainability of a club that requires training and scheduling. And so lots of things to be considered there, but they'll be coming back next month with some information. In the meantime, what we've said from the task force standpoint is that virtual tours on the marketing website will be key in garnering interest from prospective buyers. And so that would be a component regardless of the ambassador program. Secondly, Kathleen Shaw presented a list of potential values that she gathered from members of the task force and looking at similar community websites, et cetera. The task force members were asked to vote for their top 5, and then Kathleen gathered those secret ballots, and she'll report back at the next task force meeting where we will discuss them further. Ann Peterson reviewed just a tremendous list of marketing websites for communities similar to Rossmore. She talked about core design elements and content from each of those. The task force loved what Ann presented, and the websites and what today's websites are doing, marketing websites for those communities. So at the next meeting, we asked Ann and that working group to give us a report of the best design elements and desired content on our marketing website. Kathleen Schaub, along with Ted Bentley, presented a thorough analysis of myrossmore.com that would be used for residents only. Just a reminder that we're recommending 2 websites, one for marketing to the outside world and one for residents. myrossmore.com would require a major upgrade in what it offers. Ann Peterson outlined efforts that she's made in looking at resident portals of similar communities and software products that might address our needs, but that process has not been completed yet. Ann was asked by the task force to report back at the next meeting with a timeline for both the marketing and residents websites, and any staffing needs to meet those deadlines, because we're concerned that we're overburdening Anne and her team at this point in time. Our two fellows from the Haas School of Business, Aya and Pranjali, just did an amazing job to give us a comprehensive overview of Rossmore's social media presence. They made a number of recommendations and outlined a plan for execution at various levels of involvement and involving several platforms. It's the phase 2, if you will. We need to tackle the marketing website and the resident website before we get to that point. But what they have provided is a blueprint going forward. And they also pointed out that Rossmore already generates lots of content between Rossmore News and what the new content will be on the websites that could be cross-purposed for social media needs. Lastly, Ann Peterson reviewed a list of brand items that was compiled by Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. The task force unanimously approved a straw vote to pursue consistent brand names with a focus on Rossmore Walnut Creek for external purposes and Rossmore for inside the gates. For example, renaming MOD to Rossmore Property Management or something like that. Anne was asked to review this request with the Rossmore management team for their feedback and to identify any costs associated with that rebranding. As I said, the contributions by members of this task force are just outstanding, and we thank them for their dedication. But above all, Ann Peterson have been terrific in providing information and inspiration in our efforts to fulfill this deadline by May. So we've got some more work to do, but very pleased with where we're going. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. That's a great update and lots of good things to report. All right, item number 7 is unfinished business, which I do not believe we have any. So proceeding on to new business, 8A is to consider a recommendation to the Finance Committee to approve a capital budget expenditure of $59,100 to fund the next phase of work on the food and beverage project. And Anne, I believe you have a report to give us.
Yeah, I'll just kind of give an overview of what this item is about. So as everyone's aware, we're in the process of closing out this food and beverage study that we've been engaged in for about a year, and we should have our final report hopefully for the next meeting. It's due in April. And so we're also preparing for the next phase, which is preparing an RFP to recruit an operating partner. So if you recall, also in the initial study, all of this information that we were trying to gather was so we could understand the capacity for food service expansion. Because when we develop the RFP, the selection criteria has to outline pretty much what this business opportunity presents, and then define what that partnering relationship is between GRF and the successful proposal. But before we get to that RFP, we actually do need some additional information about the Creekside Restaurant site. And I want to be really clear about this because we didn't include it in the initial phasing, the initial study, because we don't want to have this referendum on Creekside. That's not what this is about. But we do need to understand the physical and operational elements there. We do want to understand the existing guest experience and how it relates to the concept, food service format, and environment as compared to the understanding that we gleaned from the study on what the vision and the desire is moving forward, because it is yet another resource within this whole food service pie. So all of this information will inform creation of an RFP for the food operating partner, and also the creation of an operating agreement. And I do want to talk about that point for a second. So the current agreement that we have with the Creekside Grill is actually a lease agreement. And so in the future, any kind of agreement with an operator there would be an operating partner. So it moves that relationship from a tenant where they have, it's a contained business that comes in and they run their operations, versus the operating partner, which allows us to create an agreement which is a collaborative partnership between GRF and the operator in the types of concepts that are being delivered, how we would build out areas, and kind of execute kind of the capital that comes with it as well. So Synergy has provided a proposal And they were kind enough to break it down into two different aspects. And so part of it is the actual work of evaluating Creekside and developing the RFP. And then they did a separate line item if we also wanted to retain them to help us as kind of the industry expert, help us in recruiting people to participate in the proposal process, helping us evaluate the different proposals as well. And so the cost of the RFP development is $19,600. The cost of the optional RFP support would be up to $39,500 if it took us like 4 to 6, we asked them, how long does it take really when you do an RFP? And the answer is you want to make sure you go through this and get a really good operating partner. So if you just make it, we just want to do this a month, sometimes it takes time for the word to get out and to find the different resources. So it could be a month, it could be 6 months, right? And so that is what that full amount would be, like if it went to the, like I said, the timeline to have them retained. So with that, I'm happy to discuss any of the aspects of the proposal that was attached to the staff item, the agenda item.
Do we have questions? Oh,
I just want to add on to what Ann said about Creekside Grill to really emphasize, Creekside's been a part of this community, a valuable part of this community since 2007. We opened Creekside Grill in 2010. They've been the operator in various forms ever since. And Creekside Grill and their operator, their owner, we've engaged with them. We want them to be part of the process, provide information and so forth, so we can really develop this RFP process. And also they are more than welcome to be participants in that and provide a proposal for continuing service in the community, just in a little bit different format. So we look forward to their participation in the process. As Ann said, this really isn't about, do you like them or do you not like them? This is about the overall food service for Rossmore and what that vision is moving forward.
Maxine.
I do like to eat, but I'm not as informed about this kind of thing. So I have a question based on, I'm especially liking those cones, but I have a question kind of based on a little bit lack of understanding of all that you just said so clearly. When you talk about a partner, are you talking about a restaurateur who will take a role in Rossmore as a restaurant operator, as well as consulting toward the building of other entities around Rossmore? So you're looking for maybe bigger than just a restaurant. Is that what you mean by partner, or a partner to help us develop? I wasn't clear about that word.
It's kind of a combination, because first of all, like we know the different concept deliveries that people are interested in. By the study, we call them day part drivers. So everybody kind of might understand that terminology now.
Coffee shop.
Yeah, that like, the breakfast, the grab and go, like all these different day part drivers. And so what we want to do when we develop this is make sure we have somebody that kind of has that entrepreneurial
That can grow into
spirit,
some of those other spaces.
that can grow into those versus just saying, no, I just want to do a
Restaurant.
or just a coffee shop or whatever. So we're looking for someone that can grow that vision with us, and also yet to be determined is the whole financial aspect.
Has the capital investment in, because we know that this is going to take some capital investment, whether it is renovations at Creekside, whether it is a separate location, variety of things. We want a partner that we can work with long-term
So
to
that's what,
implement.
okay, that's helpful. Ted?
Even though this is for, we're looking at a big picture of everything, I think the focus is what can we do right now?
Mhm.
This is what we can do right now is the Creekside location. Those other ones, who knows down the line how long it'll take? Because I'm sure it'll be an expense to the board to maybe build some kind of structure for any kind of new thing. So I think that those are, it's nice to know that the person who would take on this would be able to say, yes, I'm open to doing more locations, but it's not, I don't think that's a priority right now. right now, I think all the concentration should just be on getting the right person, whoever that is, for running Creekside the way that the residents have voted that they want it to be done. And also the plus is also something in the future, but I don't know when the future will be.
So we're just saying a person with potential. Got it.
Sure. Contractually obligated to work with us.
Yes, sure.
Got it.
But also, on each one of these, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, is there, I didn't, as I read through it, I didn't, and it could be in the verbiage and I didn't pick it up, a check back to us where they're gonna sit down and say, okay, I saw a thing that if there is any revision, there's a 2-week lead time, so that stretches it out even more on our timings on when these phases could be done. But is there gonna be a check-in and saying, okay, here's what we've got in case we want to make any changes to what they say we have?
You'll see that the first one is to organize the team. So whether it's the same internal project team, whatever, but so that at that first gathering of them, you can prescribe how you want that to happen. The one thing about Synergy, they've been super flexible, they've been super agile based on the engagement that we want to have with them. So I think in that first meeting, that's going to be a really first understanding of like what the specificity is with that.
Okay, so I have a question then. I asked for the dates because I think that this is an important process and I know that we have a lease that is running out towards the end of the year and that's part of this. I thought the dates apply to the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and not to this overview, the RFP process. Am I incorrect?
So I would say should I pull this up?
It's
so
on
people can see?
885.
885.
Yes, I think is what you're.
Yeah.
Are you able to pull something up, Tori? Are you in the,
I just wanted to,
it'd just be helpful for people to understand.
I felt like there should be some more touch points. I didn't feel
Yeah.
like there was
But this
enough
doesn't-
touch points in the.
Yeah.
This doesn't have the
Last one.
checkpoint detailed, so again, we can either have them go back or with that, the team that's gonna be kind of tilting them up reviewing this stuff, you can just say, like, you want stuff to come back to the committee, you don't want an organizing team, you just want it to come back here. But that would make the timeline a little bit different.
Yeah, does this anticipate that the team, there'll be another team selected and will
It's at the
be
design,
planning?
it's at the design committee.
I would say you have a committee already
Yeah, I
in
think
place
that's-
that has been engaged and knows the consultants. You probably want to stick with that same, and then they use the same process of reporting back to the full planning committee as we go.
Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, Dwight.
That's all right.
I
Hey.
forgot you were
I
up
said-
there.
No, don't forget me. So I totally understand that Synergy has not had a chance to evaluate the Creekside operation, and they need to do that as part of this process. What it wasn't clear to me is in the RFP process that we're looking beyond the box of what Creekside currently is. You know, what I heard at the town hall meeting, they talked about a multi-purpose, croissants and coffee in the morning and to-go food at noon, maybe sandwiches, whatever. And then you go perhaps back to fine dining and a bar in the afternoon and evening. I didn't sense from the RFP that it was going that far to evaluate the Creekside location for such an operation.
So
Am I
if you look
mistaken?
at- Yeah, I think if you look at phase 2, which is concept evolution and strategic recommendations, that's part of that, because it's the concept evolution based on that restaurant site, based on that footprint and the resources there. Which is why the team is really important, right? So they don't want to come in here and presume.
Right.
They need to let the process unfold, but they can take a look at the resources. Again, based on some of those things that we saw, this is what would it take to get there. But that's what that phase 2 is about.
That's on,
8A3.
yeah, 8A3.
I think each of these key steps, it's
Has,
a brief statement in here, but there's a lot that gets packed into each one of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, potential facility.
So Dwayne, again, it's like, as you're part of the committee, you can, I
Yeah.
mean, that's like that's where the feedback is.
Yeah, and I think we want
Yeah.
that to be the feedback loop.
Then can we have the committee, someone from that committee or Synergy, whoever it is, report back to us as their progress is what they're doing? Only because in the last one, I know that they had committee, they had some other things, I just felt out of the loop of what was happening. All I got to go is to the final event. And I just think that we need more people involved in this decision, because this is a very big decision for Rossmore. This is something that we can do right away. And it's gonna affect all of Rossmore for a long time. And I just don't want, I think it was fine. I just didn't see and hear some checkpoints that coming back and saying, okay, here's where we're at now. I got a final one, for the end of phase one on April 15th, we're gonna come back and here's what we're going to do. I'm not sure I'm really comfortable with that.
I say, well, typically if you start any project, right, and this is actually the start of a new phase, what you do is you agree upon what those checkpoints are. So to put it in here, you could say, no, we don't want that. So the best thing to do is to have the stakeholders in the room to say, no, this is what we want for the checkpoints, because that is part of their reporting process. So you can still have that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be precisely articulated in here. As Jeff said, that they're broader.
Your steering committee is advisory
Yeah.
too. They don't have decision points. They're advisory, they're steering. Decision points has to come back to this committee and then to the board for any final decision checkpoints. So, they're guiding the process, they're giving feedback, they're helping synergy with the understanding of the community, but any adoption of anything or final has to come back here. And I think throughout the time frame, Ann will be giving regular updates. Yeah.
Okay, I don't
Sorry.
want.
I'm sorry. I just wondering, we have some food services and
Waterford.
yeah. Can they also in conjunction together?
So Waterford is independent, they have their own management company, and it's because of the congregate living format, they have a different food service model.
My whole thing about the checkpoints, and I don't want, this is the last thing I'm gonna say on it, is that, well, maybe not, I don't know. But
We're not gonna hold you to
on, I want to stay on the schedule.
Yeah,
And so I don't want them to come back on the 15th and we blow it up. And then that pushes the May 5th down farther and the June 1st down farther, so that because we are on a time restraint. And we really need to get this done sooner than later so that we can stay. I like this schedule. If we can stay on this schedule, this is a great schedule to be able to put an RFP out by June 1st. That would be awesome. But I want to make sure we can stay on the schedule. So I'm just saying those touch points, it seems like these are final dates. Okay, well, I'm gonna have phase one done by April 15th. But it didn't say, I just want some other touch points in there so we don't throw a wrench in it. Because I did also see here where they says, if there is a change, we got 2 weeks to be able to make those changes and come back. Well, the 15th pushes it 2 weeks more. We're already into May. And now we're pushing everything down 2 weeks. I just wanted to, I like the schedule. I would like to stay on schedule. But I want to make sure that we don't have any surprises on the 15th. So a checkpoint ahead of time with everybody that has to make a decision, I think is a good thing. And I don't know how many, is that?
So that would be your next planning committee meeting would be just prior to that. And that's where we would do a check-in with the planning committee along the way and give any feedback to their final and then move on. It's an aggressive schedule.
It is
Very aggressive.
I mean, that's a
And
month.
I can't tell you that we're not gonna take a detour. We take a few detours, right?
Yeah, we're known for that.
So, ideally, we'd stay on that schedule and there wouldn't be any changes, but we also want to be realistic and flexible that if there's a good reason to look at something else or do something else, we want to have the flexibility to be able to do that.
If I just make a comment.
Yes.
So I just want to state, the overall goal here is not to take any amenity away. Food service is a really important amenity to Rossmore residents. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're enhancing our food and beverage services into the future. And so this is really an important step, and it's an important enhancement of what we already have. And so I don't want anybody to think that we're going to take food service away, because it is important to all of us.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't think anybody's trying to do that. I think we're simply looking at the Creekside restaurant site because we haven't looked at that before. We've looked at, Hillside, we've looked at Dollar, we've looked at Fireside, but we haven't looked at the Creekside site. And we need to have that information for the overall picture. So yeah, I would certainly agree with you. We're not trying to take anything away. I'm a little concerned on timing as well as Ted, that we get to this point and we go, whoa, that's not what we wanted. And then we're pushing this thing too far into the future. And I'm not quite sure how to.
There's not really a good, if we get to a touch point where there is some different direction, and there's options if we do need to delay things because we're looking at something else or there's a change in scope or anything like that, there's opportunity to do that.
We have to do it, yeah.
We don't have to be so rigid.
Well, and I'm kind of looking at this phase one. I thought that was incredibly ambitious to get all this done by the week of April 15th, which is like a month away. And it's basically to get a whole site review done of the I don't know what it all entails, but it sounds to me like that's a significant amount of work. If that pushes, maybe it doesn't necessarily push the end date of May 5th for phase two. Maybe it just requires like an additional week, but I would strongly ask Synergy to let us know, through staff and through Jeff and Ann, basically, if they're encountering a hurdle that's gonna affect the schedule or there's something that they can't meet, I think we need to know about it sooner than just hearing about it, at the next planning committee. Yeah.
I just need an additional clarification for all the others who aren't following this. So what we're looking at here is the possibility of, at the minimum, because the whole scope of food service is so big, looking at how differently can we or might we use the Creekside space. Can one of the meeting rooms be used as a coffee shop in the morning? Can the lobby be used? That's kind of what we're talking about? That's the piece that they're trying to come up with by April 15th? Am I understanding?
I don't know that there's that in depth, but we do need to know what they need to know what the kitchen capabilities are. What needs to be done in addition to that to meet a food service vision that's not only for that site, but if we expand, as Ann talked about, having that partner, being able to look at additional food service options.
I see it as more of a technical analysis, this first phase.
Because it's our only good kitchen, is what we're saying.
It's our only commercial kitchen.
It's our only commercial kitchen, yeah.
So that's why we have to see.
And we have to analyze that.
Could it be made bigger?
Right, exactly, things like that.
So that's, because sometimes I think we get a little mired in the contracty kind of words, but it's not really understandable by humans.
I mean, my understanding,
Residents.
I'm open to corrections, but
It gets complicated.
Yeah,
And then people
my
ask us
understanding
questions
is
like,
this is-
well, I don't understand.
yeah,
So
this
I'm
is
just
the
trying to-
technical aspect of looking at, this is what we have as a kitchen, this is what we have as
Where can we
the
go with it?
scully, this is the
So,
adjacent rooms,
You have to look at the process we did so far, as Dwight's indicated, there's a strong concept on the direction we know we want to go to. They need to now assess is-
How can we
with
get
the
there?
with the technical footprint that we have, which is the most likely to see change sooner.
Yes, the
Yeah,
best
can we achieve
location,
that?
all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, do we need a bigger kitchen? Do we need,
Okay, I get it.
that type, I see this
That's it.
first part as
what you
that kind of a study.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joint Stanley.
Could I make a comment?
Sorry, I can't,
That's
I don't,
I've been watching the hand.
oh, good. Dwight, please speak.
Dwight, you're
Yeah, I'd
frozen.
like to make a motion that the planning committee recommend to the finance committee and board to approve a capital budget expenditure of $59,100 to fund the next phase of work on the food and beverage project and authorize general manager to execute an amendment with the Synergy Restaurant Consultants for an expanded scope of service to include evaluation of the Creekside Restaurant site and request for proposal development and support.
I'll second.
Okay, and I would like to add the words capital budget expenditure not to exceed 59,100, just to reflect that this is a two-phased project, and we may not need the whole $59,100.
I would agree with that.
Are you okay with
I'm
that,
okay with
Ted?
that, Tom.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hines,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Topper,
Yes,
Walker,
Yes. And excuse me, Cheryl, I have a
Yes.
Giants game to go to, so I'm going to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Oh, right, we
That is-
really, oh, that's the Arizona, okay.
Nothing
All right.
more
See
All
ya.
than-
right, well, we'll
Bye now.
excuse you for that.
Thank you.
All right, on that note, let's go to 8B, where we're talking about $9,000 to fund the irrigation design as part of the pickleball capital project.
So we've known since since a good part of planning this project, at least since I've been here, that if we proceeded with the site where we were, there's actually two pipes under there. But the one that is more of repair maintenance is there's a main irrigation line that kind of goes under the footprint of where the pickleball court is designed. And so we wanted to bring this forward as a separate project because it does not have to go through the rigor of the permitting that the rest of the project has gone through with the city. And so now that we're kind of on the precipice of like moving that project forward, we want to have the design squared away so that hopefully we can then put this out to bid and bring back a contract, within about a month or so from the time this is approved and get started on the irrigation line removal. I do want to say something because this is an amazing asset that we have, this golf course. And I am sure there's concern about, oh, you're moving an irrigation line, what is the impact to disruption of water? And so in our conversations with prospective contractors on this, these projects can be done with a switchover, which means that you do the construction, you put in the new line, and then it's really minimized to 1 or 2 days to do the switchover. And so, we won't know that until we do the design and bid it out, and all that will need to be evaluated before we actually proceed with the timeline of the project. So we're proceeding with this with the mindfulness that we're gathering information. The timeline is pending on what that switchover looks like.
Yeah, I think it's just really key to emphasize, especially for the golf community. This project is not going to jeopardize another major important asset that we have. We're not going to jeopardize the turf or the playability of the golf course whatsoever. Will there be some disruption as that is being routed? As minimal as possible, and it'll be kind of fenced off. We're not anticipating closing any holes or taking up any holes or anything like that. So we will plan it accordingly, certainly in coordination with the golf maintenance folks for as little interruption. But we know that there's key seasons and time that we cannot have irrigation turned off for extended period of time. So it's important that everybody realize we're very well aware of that. We'll plan accordingly.
Ted?
So timeframe at ballpark, because I know we can't get exact, but ballpark on time that you think that this possibly could be done and that how long you think it would take to get it done? Because I can see some equipment maybe down the right side of the fairway or something like that.
Sure.
So affecting play maybe, or a different type of hard hat that they're gonna have to wear or something, It could be, so I just was wondering, is there like a time frame when you think it'll happen and then duration of how long it would be affecting, and it's ballpark, I know you can't be exact.
I mean, the main trigger here with all of this project is when will we get permits from the city, right? So we have our planning commission date, assuming we get permits, and that's a big assuming. And then we go out to bid and you figure that's a so many week process, and then we have contracts and mobilization. So you start kind of adding those timeframes up.
Just on irrigation?
Well, likely, what you wanna answer?
Because I think that's what I think is gonna affect it right at the beginning, and that's the only thing I know about all that. I don't know where you were going. It's not
I
like you're
think
doing
we'll
a whole project.
probably be looking, and Ann can correct me, but if we're doing this, we're probably gonna just do it as one project. So incorporate it into.
Just the
overall.
irrigation.
No, the whole scope.
Oh,
So part of the thought is this, right? If you go there and you have these, and I'm just gonna call it a minimal disruption, because they call these things disruption plans. What you do is like, this is where fencing will be. Based on what we know, which would have like probably more infringe, if you will, would be the irrigation line. And for that one, it looks like it's gonna impact the bunker that's on that hole. Not all of it, like a little bit of it. And of course, we don't know until we get it bid out, because there's a certain area that the contractor is responsible, saying for safety, I need this much fenced off, right? So we can't dictate and say, you can't do this, or else we could be jeopardizing them. So we need that more information. Once we start that, and if everything is kind of going now, I'm not even gonna say it, but with the city, right? So we anticipate our permit to be coming close with that. So then we would continuously now go into the construction phase. And so there is going to be some type of perimeter fencing. Does it get moved closer? Again, we don't have enough information to understand what the disruption is, but we wanna start it and keep going, as opposed to like start one project, clear it all up, and put it back. It's gonna make it a more efficient.
So likely it'll be
Construction of
under
the
one
golf
general
course.
contractor who will have a sub that will do that specific work that we put into the specs of the project.
And at the present time, other than the equipment on the right-hand side, we don't really see any disruption to the 18th hole or the tee box. I mean, the green.
I mean, I think one of the things we put in the specifications is that the access to the 18th green for playability has to be maintained for the project type of thing. So that's when they go into the planning that Ann's talking about, they know that that's a condition.
okay. Any other questions? Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion, recommendation to go to the Finance Committee to approve the capital budget expenditure of $9,000 to fund the irrigation design as part of the pickleball project, and to authorize the general manager to execute an agreement with Russell D. Mitchell and Associates, Inc. for the irrigation design and service.
Okay, I'd second. Roll call, please.
Hines,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Topper.
Yes.
All right, any further discussion? It's done. Moving on to residents forum. Tori, can you let us know who's speaking, please?
Yes, I'll do the instructions. Residents have up to 2 minutes to address the committee. The committee does not directly answer questions posed by speakers during the residents forum, but it does hear the viewpoints and ideas presented, and members do consider them as they act during the meeting. Speakers must conduct themselves with proper decorum consistent with community standards that would not be offensive to a reasonable person as determined at the sole discretion of the GRF board. Participants may not engage in personal attacks, threats of any kind, or any other disruptive behavior. Speakers violating these rules may be expelled from the meeting and precluded from speaking at future meetings as determined by the board. We have one resident speaker, and that is Carol Weed.
Carol?
I'd like to comment about Tice Creek.
Carol, can you just state your name and
And
address,
location,
please,
yes.
for the record?
Carol Weed at 1277 Avenida Sevilla, that's in Mutual 70. My comments are about Tice Creek, and they fall under a few parts of it. One is that it's being used by as a trash can by both staff and residents. That it's a major thoroughfare and attraction for wildlife that needs to be considered when the engineers plan the bridges. And that similarly, restoration of the creek, where there's been at least one bridge design that's very detrimental to the creek and has caused a lot of erosion, needs to be considered. And part of that is when the bridges are constructed, that the staging area for equipment and for vehicles, whatever, you know, that do it, needs to be considered. So not just put helter-skelter where it could cause more destruction to the creek. One of my friends, on every Monday when there's walking privileges, I should state first that I'm not a golfer. So if my comments seem out of place, that's partly why. Goes along different segments of the creek each Monday, and fishes out trash that's in there. The most common thing he finds is the covers for earbuds and other pieces of equipment that landscapers use. So landscapers that are hired that are tossing, they consider the creek trash can, but they're not unique. Because in some places where there are benches and no obvious trash cans, people think that that's what they should do too. And so there are, you know, chip wrappers and so forth in it. I'll wind down. So I think some sort of notice needs to go out and have trash cans, not ugly things that are sitting everywhere, but some sort of subtle placement of more accessible, because then people, you know, both staff and residents will use them. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
That is all. All right. Goodness sakes. Well, with that, our next meeting is Thursday, April the 10th at 10:30, right here in the boardroom and via Zoom. And I guess we are adjourned.